Ladies and gentlemen, the biggest internet radio station on the planet.
Even the other radio stations are tuning in.
Your choice, your music. UChoiceRadio.com.
Thank you for joining UChoice Radio. This is the Whateva Podcast with your hosts, Tony Draper, Salo, and Beats Gordy. We have a great interview today with Melvin Jackson Jr., Emmy Nominated actor, comedian, writer, producer, was in The Wire as Bernard in season 2. Also in Everyone Hates Chris as a bully, and much more. So stay tuned. We have a great interview for you. We're going to talk some real stuff. Keep it real like we always do. Let's go.
Mr. Melvin Jackson Jr. How you doing, sir?
How you doing? What's going on, fellas?
All right. Welcome to the Whateva Podcast.
Happy, bro.
So first question I have for you. Growing up, we all know you from The Wire. That's a classic. Is that like the bar for you? Like moving forward, is that still like a bar you chasing?
Not really. That was kind of a stepping stone for me. That kind of got me to where I am now, to be able to learn and watch and just be a part of an iconic show. Like, I was a fresh new actor, and so to jump in something so iconic like that and be able to hold my own, that was definitely a challenge for me. But it also was humbling because there was people around that were able to just, take me under their wings and just really, make sure I didn't fail. So for me, that's always always the reminder of how far I've come. When people talk about a show like The Wire, you can't help but talk about the stars that the show created. So for me, it's not necessarily a bar. It's just simply something that I can always go back to, look back to the blueprint, like where it all started from.
Sir. Hey, I don't mean to go, I know we started with The Wire, man. I'm going to go back in time a little bit. You started off pretty young, man. So what kind of got you into the business?
I first started managing artists. And so, music was always my first love, and, something that I feel like I wanted to definitely, be a part of that business. And so managing artists was my way, because I feel like I always could discover talent. I knew talent when I saw it. I know how to develop talent. And so I just, at 18, man, went out on a limb and just created, a management company, tried, to create avenues and recruit artists. And so my first artist, who's a good friend to this day, I saw him at a talent show and we connected. And one thing led to another, man. Like, we just stayed in the studio, we stayed writing, stayed producing, and that was the first person that we went in the trenches with, and just saw how hard it was to be in the music business, but also understand that it was possible. The doors we were getting into was amazing, and the people that we met along the way was even great as well.
Yeah, I wanted to ask a question as far as, like, when you got into doing big projects, what did you take away from those projects that increased your repertoire to go follow another path, to go to another project?
I mean,
what did you take from those projects individually?
What I took away from it, man, was that every person involved was important. From the person handling the lights, the person doing the grip, just everything. Every job was important to getting the task done. That was shooting a movie, shooting a TV show. So what I just started doing was looking at behind the scenes, and not just what was happening in front of the camera, but also how it all came together. And I thought it was a amazing chemistry and amazing, like an orchestra. You can't have a full orchestra without certain pieces to the puzzle. And so I understood that any little thing that went wrong on one situation created a domino effect. So for me, it was also just learning what people behind the scenes do. I think for me, it was seeing the importance of what we do as an actors, but also understanding, like, we're just half of it, man. We're just a tip of the iceberg.
My question would be, I did a little research, and I seen you grew up overseas, I believe. Spent a little time.
Yes, I did.
Also was an athlete.
Yeah, that's.
So do you carry like the athlete chip on your shoulder, like the Mamba mentality, so to speak, and your acting? And could you just speak on just your upbringing a little bit? and how it developed you as a person?
Well, I'm a competitor, man. So I think, definitely being an athlete and, always wanting to compete and never liking to lose, and understanding when you lost, how can you get better, and what do you learn from those losses? And for me, sometimes that I lost, it was because I didn't prepare. I didn't prepare more than the next person. I thought that my talent alone would get me to the next stage, and that wasn't true. And I learned that you can always stay stagnated where you are, but someone is always who you may beat before is going to get better. And if you don't rise up to the challenge to not say be unbeatable, but put yourself in the best situation, then you're going to fail. And so for me, same thing as in acting. I got into the business, not taking any acting classes, just straight off the streets pretty much. And so for me, my mentality was like, well, dang, if I did that, I can keep going and don't necessarily need to take acting classes. But I had to start looking at the greats, and like Will Smith and Denzel Washington, who always constantly had, acting coaches and continue to work on their craft. And I said, what makes me better than them? If they have acting coaches, if they have people who constantly help them get better, what makes me any different? And what makes me better than them? So I had to understand that I can always sharpen my tool. So I started working with acting coaches and one-on-one, and just kind of trying to be better, because you always want to be better as an actor, because when you're in a scene with somebody, you don't want to get blown away. You want to be able to go toe-to-toe with them. And so that's what it is. It's like even the point of being ready for an audition. Like the way I audition is different now, because I used to go in there like, man, I got to book this role. I got to get it, putting all that pressure on myself when it's already pressure enough, just trying to go in there and be present. So now I try to go and have fun. Now I try to just embody whatever character that I'm playing. And sometimes it's hard when you don't necessarily believe in what you're reading. So that's always the key, is making sure that you actually believe what you're saying, and that you as that person believe what you're saying, not you as me. Sometimes like, oh, I wouldn't say that, but it's like, it's not me saying it, it's the character. Yeah. So that's always one of the things that I have to push myself to make sure that I'm always giving my all, giving my best, and making sure that I leave no tables unturned.
Yeah, that's one thing, man. Especially when you're going up against somebody that's at a higher level than you, man. It's hard to not look up to them and compete with them at the same time, man. But I know something else that's hard, man. 'Cause I seen you that you're a mental health advocate, yes, whatever, man. But why do you think seeking mental health guidance is so much of a stigmatized in the Black community? And what can we do as a community to help get rid of that stigma?
I think the thing is, man, for so long, growing up, when someone, being called crazy, people are, they may have a mental illness that they may not know haven't been diagnosed what it is, and people are like, oh, that person's crazy, or to have mental issues in the Black community is frowned upon. Now where it's kind of to come out of it a little bit, where now you see athletes talking about mental health, and speaking about it, even other celebrities, how we all have been depressed at some point in time, and so we don't know sometimes how to deal with that. Some people go into a deeper depression than others, and so I always feel like it's important to speak about mental health and suicide prevention, because it's important. And for me, it hit home back in 2014 when my father committed suicide. He shot himself. And so for me, that was an eye-opener, like, man, like we really have to continue to talk about this thing, and it made me care more about people, and when they're going through things, and like, man, how can I help? Can I pray? Let's pray. Like, how can I be a support system? Because I understand that sometimes there is things you can do, but sometimes we make our problems bigger than somebody else's. And sometimes it's okay to put our problems to the side to deal with someone else, because they may not be able to get to the next day as you know what I mean? They may not handle their situation as best as you do. So for me, it's always important to make sure that we continue to be an advocate for mental health and suicide prevention, because it is something in definitely African American community that we don't speak enough about, especially as men. We don't share our emotions, our feelings, and we try to embody it in. And when we crying over a woman or whatever, tripping her dudes, like, man, stop being a punk, stop. It's always these things that make you feel bad about how you feeling, but we got to continue to just uplift and support each other.
Yes, sir. I appreciate it. I like that answer a lot.
Absolutely.
That was real.
I had a question. You were saying when you first started, you just started off the streets, just off the strength of your own back. Back then, it probably social media wasn't strong like it is now. And
No.
for us, that's us right now. We just trying to make it all off the strength. And luckily we got social media. How did you do it? And like just like a little insight on your blueprint and how you feel like the ball got rolling.
Man, for me, I've always been a hustler, man. I never continue to try to wait for things to come my way. I always had like the street team mentality. As you know, in music, you got your street team, people promoting, new artists, putting flyers. Like that was me. Even I did like an intern a little bit for a record company, but just for me, it's like I understand if you want people to know about your product that you have, you got to continue to bring it to people. You got to take it to them. You can't wait for them to come to you. So it's like you gotta almost hype yourself up more than you. I'm saying you almost gotta overhype yourself in a sense. You gotta sell it, but you gotta make sure that you live on what you're selling. So for me, it's always making sure that I'm not just hyping myself up, but I'm also bringing you value to what I'm telling you. So for me, like when I started building my track record, I didn't have to blow smoke of people's, but it was just simply like, yo, this is what I do. And simply now you see what it is that I'm able to do. And I think that people's eyes started to definitely focus on what I was doing. And so it was always about building a track record, building a platform so that people you don't have to talk about it anymore. People just can see it. So now I have a library of stuff that I've done. I'm like, hey, here's my catalog.
Yes.
You can look through it and see what I can or can't do. And if you still have doubts, then it's like, okay, now I'll show you what I can do.
I feel that. I love that answer as well.
Yeah, that was deep.
That's why we appreciate you joining us, because you helping us build that. Like, I have a quote for that. It's like, I bet you feel like the person you used to pretend to be, or also you bite off more than you can chew, and then you get it done, basically. So I feel you 100%.
Absolutely, man. I commend you, brothers, for doing what you're doing. And man, every job is important. Everything is important. I feel like you got to use your platform. And now social media has definitely opened up doors that we didn't have when I was coming in the game about 20 or so years ago. So we're evolving with the times, and we have to continue to use our voices and continue to be creative, man. That's important, to be creative with our time.
Yes, sir. One more question for me. For an actor trying to get in the game, do you think an agent is necessary?
Well, first you have to become valuable to an agent, because sometimes if you're just looking for an agent, it's almost like looking for a record deal. You want a record deal, but you have no music to put out. You haven't put out any music. They don't know you don't have any music, or you have a demo reel. So for me, if you're looking for an agent, you need to create your demo reel. You need to do the work. So most times you can get with somebody and just shoot scenes, just so you can have different characters that you play. Even if it's not in a show or TV show, you can actually just shoot them yourself and put together your own demo reel. So at least they have something to go off of what you can and can't do. Some agents will take people, they'll have them do a cold reading or something like that. But they also sometimes, it's almost like when you're trying to get your first job. They always would tell you, well, you need experience. Well, you're like, well, how can I get experience if you don't give me a job? So sometimes it's the same thing with acting. They want someone with a little bit more experience, but you're like, if I don't have representation, if I don't have anyone helping me, how can I get experience? Well, there's all these other things like social media now. You have other platforms you can go to that you don't need an agent to submit yourself for auditions, and they have Actors Access, LA Casting, different things that's out there that you don't necessarily need an agent. Because I got the wire without an agent. I didn't have an agent until I moved to California. And, for me, it was always, I had the mindset of a manager. So I used to manage artists. So it's like, I knew how to manage. And so I had to manage myself for a little bit. I had to kind of be the mouthpiece and speak for myself and put myself out there, submit my own headshot and resume when things were kind of done through mail. So you got to really take matters in your own hand. You can't wait if you're looking for an agent, but you have to give an agent a reason to even want to take a meeting with you. So if you have nothing, if you haven't took the steps, if you're not taking acting class, if you don't have headshots, then you don't go to an agent before you have those things, because they're going to look at you like, what are you doing?
Yeah. Right. Great.
So I see you've done certain projects as far as Eddie Murphy. You're also doing Puff. You did Puff Daddy. You're working on portraying Corrupt as well. Your very first project where you portrayed someone was actually Kurtis Blow. So when you are actually portraying a person, do you go real in depth in the personality traits and things that you won't see right away from that person on camera?
Yeah, man. I think one of the hardest things as an actor is to portray someone else. It's one thing to portray a character, but to portray someone that's actually is living or has lived, and someone has something to base your performance off of. It's very intimidating. And so playing someone like Kurtis Blow was very intimidating because it's not something that I said I wanted to do. The opportunity happened, and I was able to embody him without having to try to embody him. I think that was the thing. I was doing my research and looking at things, and I was like, man, he kind of sounds like Kanye in some of the videos. And so I didn't want to get caught up on trying to imitate him, but more so embody him as a person. And so when I got the gist of what it was that the director wanted, which is Chris Robinson, amazing director, when I knew that what he wanted to get out of me in the sense of, when you're a big icon like Kurtis Blow, and now you're having to open up for little kids, how would you feel? And New York folks, they got that bravado, they got that ego type of thing, and it's like all from the chest type of thing. And so
yeah.
I had to be like, wait a minute, how if I was him, how would I react in this situation? And so I feel like I try to bring humility to it and understand it. And then people who know Kurtis Blow was like, man, that was spot on. And that was without me trying. When I stepped on scene, on set, I felt the spirit of Kurtis Blow. Like I embodied him without trying to. As soon as I got on set, it was like, what up, Kurtis Blow? I'm like, huh, 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 huh. It was just, I got into that without truly trying to like get into it. And so that was almost like an out-of-body experience. And I think that was just something beautiful that we was able to create. And I was happy with my performance.
Did you ever reach out to Kurtis Blow? I know I was watching the Wu-Tang American Saga, whatever. I know some of the actors, they was able to talk to, dude was able to talk to Raekwon and vice versa and stuff like hey, this how I say it, whatever, man. So were you able to reach out to Kurtis Blow as far as like get some advice for that?
No, I actually did, man. I didn't meet him until afterwards. And it was interesting because I was the one who broke the news to him that he was in the movie. And so that was an interesting situation. And so
that was dope.
We connected, and we vibed, and of course he had his issues about how he was portrayed in the story, because he's like, I didn't say that to the kids about the Nation of Islam, which he did, and that was something that was added by the writer. And he was just didn't like how he was portrayed. I think he could have explained it in a sense of where it's like, I would have felt the same way if I'm a king in New York and I got to open up for some kids. Like, who wouldn't feel a certain kind of way? So it wasn't like he was hating, but they didn't show that also that he mentored them afterwards. He saw how good they were, and he went on a road with them, and he kind of mentored them a little bit. So it's all of these things that when you're portraying someone, that's another thing you got to worry about, is like the backlash of being someone feel a certain kind of way about, you portraying them. But he loved my portrayal of him. And so that was a good thing. I definitely got his approval as far as how I did.
I seen that a lot with the Tupac movie. He got a lot of backlash. So I'm like, man, they can't fit the whole man life in 2 hours, man. Like, it was a good movie, but
right.
I think you got to beat him to it. You got to do what Antoine Fisher did. He just wrote and directed his own movie.
Exactly.
Who's the favorite person that you actually portrayed?
Eddie Murphy, man.
Eddie Murphy. Okay.
He's the GOAT, man. He's the reason why I became an actor, comedian, and that was someone I really didn't have to, I don't say dig deep to portray. It was simply like, everyone can try to do the voice and everything, but it's also getting embodying his personality. And when he's not, sometimes, like now he don't really do that laugh. Like people do that laugh, and I'm like, he doesn't really do that laugh anymore. I don't know if it was just a gimmick thing he did, but it became a signature. So for me, it's like embodying him as a person and who he is. So that was always, a thing that was just exciting to not only to portray him, but to get nominated for an Emmy for portraying him. So that was always, a rewarding experience.
How did you feel when you got that news?
Man, it was amazing. My wife actually told me because we both were on the ballot, and I called her to tell her she was nominated. And so she asked about me, and I was like, I don't know. I just saw she was nominated. I just got excited and called her. And so she looked and saw my name, and she's like, babe, you nominated too. So it was an amazing experience because I got to experience it with my wife, man. And, we became the first African-American married couple to be nominated in the same year for an Emmy, which was like dope. You know what I mean? So
yeah, that's powerful.
And when you work hard, man, it pays off. And I think for me, it was just a support system that we had, and not expecting it to happen, but that it did. It was simply God. I was like, man, it's all God, because there's no explanation for us both to be nominated like that. That was just insane.
What do you have in the pipeline next? And are you still mostly like doing things independent? And what type of capacity does it take to still keep wanting to win, basically?
Okay. Well, hopefully what I have in the pipeline, man, is volume 2 of this book. It's called The Adventures of Jimmy the Fly. It's an children's book me and my wife wrote. So we're going to try to get this volume 2 out hopefully this year. I'm working on a domestic violence documentary called I'm a Survivor, No Longer a Victim. I felt it was important to help tell stories, not just women's stories, but men's stories too, about the domestic violence, those who have been abused, those who were ex-abusers, all these things that we continue to want to continue to talk about and to figure out how can we help solve some of these problems. And knowing a lot of things behind the scenes on an independent, definitely on producing side of things, just helping getting some things, created, helping produce a couple films, possible TV shows. So yeah, man, just definitely just trying to stay active during this time. Is really sometimes it's kind of hard with the COVID-19 happening. Yeah. It kind of shut everything down, and then we're also dealing with the injustice and the protests, things that we're trying to get resolved for us as African Americans. And so it's always important, man, for us to use our voice. And lately I hadn't been very creative in a mindset of wanting to create. I wanted to make sure that I use my voice to be active in this movement. I never considered myself an activist, but I said I've become active, and I've been activated to be more helpful and more useful in the cause and doing my part. Telling people to go vote, constantly speaking about what's happening into our people, the George Floyd situation, Breonna Taylor's of the world, what's Elijah's last name? We keep finding out about new people every day, man. Some people that stuff didn't happen 5-6 months ago, and it's just like,
right.
Like, think about how many other people that we don't know about.
Yes.
And I'm gonna tell you one thing that I do know is that Black people are not committing suicide by hanging themselves on a tree. That's what we're not doing.
That's a fact.
That one is the most scary, upsetting. That one is upsetting about what's going on in Texas and Cali. Yeah.
Crazy, man.
I appreciate.
But we gotta continue to, we gotta continue to use our voices, man. We gotta, and what hurts my heart sometimes is that we're still out there killing each other. That's it. Even what we going through, man. Like we trying to come together as a united front, and we still killing each other. You see, Chicago went from Memorial Day killings happening over there, Father's Day killings, kids are getting killed.
Yeah,
it's crazy, man. It's like, man, when will it stop? When we get in our mindset, it's like, okay, enough is enough. We're not each other's enemies. Yeah. Whatever beef we have, we got to put that to the side. We got to continue to push forward, especially if the Bloods and Crips could come to a truce, involving around Nipsey Hussle and everything. We got so much further to go, but understanding that we're getting there, but we got to start in our own communities.
Facts. That's right. Right.
That's something I preach all the time, man. Like, once we all come together, like, we'll be a powerful force. We talked about that a couple of weeks ago, man. Like, if we all come together as a community, a Black community, man, like, I don't think anybody can handle that, man.
Right. And prime example, right behind you, man, Martin Luther King and Malcolm X, man. Two different brothers from two different spectrums, had two different beliefs, but understood that the overall thing was to bring our Black people together and unite, And so, man, if you haven't, man, there's a good play called The Meeting that my buddy does, and it's imaginary meeting about Martin Luther King and Malcolm X and how that meeting would be, their conversation would be, and just understand they were Martin was about nonviolence, turn the other cheek. Malcolm was about if they hit me, I'm gonna hit them back type of thing, and it was just they had different ideology, but understood at the same day they wanted the same thing. They wanted their people to overcome obstacles.
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Right. It's actually about the infamous picture of them shaking hands.
Yeah. And
they actually said people know about this meeting. Actually, Salo got it right behind them.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And people was wondering what was said in that meeting. Nobody really knows, so people actually draw their own conclusion. I've seen some colleges had assignments where they partner people up
right
in the 90s, and it was portrayed on Different World, and they had to actually create dialogue from that meeting.
Yeah, look at Jeff Sexton. I don't know if you know Jeff Sexton. He actually did a play about that called The Meeting, and that's what they redid. So look at that, Jet. Yeah,
about one of the actors.
My buddies are out there from Miami.
Yeah. Who played Dresser? The guy who played Dresser on 5 Heartbeats. Right. That's how he was discovered. He played Malcolm X in a stage play version of The Meeting as well. Wow. Yep. But while we got you here, we're about to wrap it up. Let's get into some of your social media. Social media platforms and what you're working on next.
Social media is Melvin Jackson. Melvin Jackson Jr. Everything. Website is melvinjacksonjr.com. And man, like I said, just working on just being a blessing to others, man. I want to open up opportunities, create opportunities for others, and continue to use my platform, man. I think a lot of people, they're always looking to be inspired. And I always say that we should be our first source of motivation. When we wake up in the morning, we should look at ourselves in the mirror and be able to motivate ourselves. But that doesn't work for everybody. So for me, I'm always trying to inspire people and motivate people that you can believe in yourself. You can bet on yourself and win. But you gotta believe in yourself. I always use Kanye West as a prime example. He knew before anybody else where he was gonna be. He said he was gonna be great. People looked at him crazy. He jumped on a table and was saying all these things. They're like, man, get off the table. You actually start talking crazy. But you have to believe in yourself. You have to set the bar so high for yourself that only you can achieve it. And so when you see the vision and you see the dream, and you know that you can make it reality, and when it happens, people are like, oh man, he was onto something. Now they won't doubt him anymore, I bet you. Now, so now when you set the bar high and you achieve it and people see what you achieve, they won't doubt you anymore. They actually will believe in you even more and be like, you know what, I'm putting my money on him. When they normally wouldn't bet on somebody else, they only gonna bet on themselves. But they're like, you know what, I'll take that gamble on you because you seem to have your head on the right, right on.
Okay, it might cut off on us, but one more question. Okay. What's a book you could tell us we should read? What book should we read?
And right now I'm listening to the auto version of 50 Cent's book, Hustle Harder, Hustle Smarter. Like, it's really good. He's giving some gems. Definitely something you should check out. And yeah, man, and definitely you can't go wrong with the Bible.
Yes, sir. I appreciate it. We really appreciate you coming.
Thank you again, man.
Yeah, appreciate it, man.
Great having you.
I have a blessed one.
Yes, sir.
Take care.
Ladies and gentlemen, the biggest internet radio station on the planet.
Even the other radio stations are tuning in.
Your choice, your music. UChoiceRadio.com.